Hey friends, it's Just the Gems, I'm Brandon. You know, there's just never enough time in a day. And similarly, weeks are far too short, and months fly by without any kind of warning. But also, I turned 40 this month, and literally 6 months ago I was 25, so what's up with that? Time is a flat circle, it's a mess. Why am I talking about time? Hang in there, we're getting to it. See, I have shelves of JRPGs, and it's safe to say that I haven't played the majority of them yet. Whether it's a feeling of overwhelm at just having so many to tackle, or the fact that new games are coming out all the time, actually it's probably both. Yeah. But regardless, I know I'm sleeping on some incredible experiences. Now, I could probably do a video just like this with every console I own, but this is YouTube, and YouTube runs on Nintendo Switch, so let's start with Nintendo Switch, shall we? Here are 10 Switch JRPGs I still haven't played. To my great shame. If any game in my backlog looks at first glance like it doesn't belong, it's Golf Story on the Nintendo Switch. The premise would never have won me over under normal circumstances. It's a golf game. And not like crazy zany golf like Mario Golf. No, it's like 9-iron golf. Or like putter golf. It's normal golf, is what I'm getting at. But the elevator pitch would have at least piqued my interest. After all, it's not just a golf game, it's a golf RPG. And like you might imagine, it's a story that doesn't take itself too seriously. Still, that doesn't keep it from having a deep and dramatic storyline about chasing your dreams and overcoming adversity. For a game like this to have gotten so much praise, and for me to still not have made time for it, this is the sort of game that the Stack of Shame was named for. I promise I'm not a bad person, I'm just bad at time management. I'll get to it eventually. I know looks can be deceiving, but dang, does Loop 8 Summer of Gods look good? Does that mean it is good? Well, to be honest, I've heard mixed things. Some people I follow even hated it. But I mean, just look at it. Maybe I'm talking in circles here, but this aesthetic is 1000% my jam. And I have a hard time believing I could hate anything that looks like this. It's a JRPG set in the 80s in Japan, and it involves spaceships and time loops and a whole lot of other weirdness that tells me this isn't just a stereotypical coming-of-age story. The combat looks at least somewhat interesting, though I'll admit I haven't watched anything other than the trailers because I want to keep myself unspoiled as much as possible. Considering this game caught my attention hard when it was announced, it's ludicrous that I haven't played it yet. I'm a simple man. Give me a game modeled after Secret of Mana, I will enjoy that game. If you want to do even better, have Hiroki Kikuta, the composer of Secret of Mana, write the soundtrack. Trinity Trigger checks all these boxes and more, and yet I still haven't played it. The setup is pretty cliche, with the backstory being a big war between gods of order and chaos, with each side choosing one warrior to fight for them. In something of a twist, your main character is chosen as the warrior of chaos, so I don't know. Maybe he'll have some moral dilemmas at some point. I'm a big fan of moral dilemmas. In games, not in my personal life. Although, no, never mind. Anyway, you and 2 other characters have to fight using triggers, which I guess are little animals that turn into weapons. I'll be honest, this looks like a budget title, and were it not for the pedigree of developers behind it, I probably wouldn't have given it much notice. But when you've got the character designer of Chrono Cross, the story writer of Bravely Default 2, and the composer of Secret of Mana all on the same team, consider notice taken. Now I just have to find the time. Okay, I don't want to start repeating myself, but just like with Trinity Trigger, my body is particularly attuned to nostalgia, so games that start with lots of nostalgia ammo in the chamber are likely to blow my mind. That's the case with Ara Fell. Ara Fell is an indie RPG that's been on my radar for a long time, and the recent limited run games release of the physical finally motivated me to pick it up. As for why I haven't played it yet, well, I can't really say. I mean, indie RPGs are very hit or miss. I feel like it's not hard to check most of the JRPG boxes. Anime art styles are plentiful, turn-based battles are not all that complex at a very basic level, and pixel graphics aren't the most difficult to pull off. Some indies think checking the boxes is enough to capture our imaginations, and that's just not the case. There's an element to a truly classic JRPG that makes it more than the sum of its parts. Does Ara Fell meet that undeniably lofty criteria? I don't know. The reviews paint a mixed picture, with critics giving it a solid okay, and players scoring it a decent bit higher. Regardless, I'm intrigued enough to take it for a spin, and I will. Soon? Soon. I recently became very good at video games, so it's time for me to start digging into the strategy RPGs that always sent me running in fear since I was a kid. Strategy games are hard, and I'm sure Triangle Strategy is no exception, but I'm ready for it now. Because I beat Fire Emblem Engage on normal mode. Yeah, that's right. Pro gamer here. The art style is incredible. I'm not one of those people that's sick to death of the HD 2D look, at least not yet. It's done the best job so far of capturing the feel of games back in the 16 and 32-bit eras. Not the look, of course, but how it felt as a kid to play those games. Games with a retro aesthetic are already asking you to look through rose-colored glasses at the past. The HD 2D games just go the extra step and provide the glasses for you. Now, I've heard the story and maybe the voice acting are a little iffy. Correct me if you think I've heard wrong in the comments, but voice acting with a bit of hokiness isn't going to completely turn me off. But I haven't heard anyone complain about the gameplay, and in a strategy RPG, that's where the money's spent anyway. I've waited long enough. I think it's time I started strategizing triangularly. As a fan of Shin Megami Tensei games in general, and Persona in particular, this game seemed like it would be up my alley from the earliest days. I'm talking the original release on the Wii U, before it got shunted onto the Switch and had Encore slapped on its rear end. Did I anticipate it being massively cringe? Yes, of course. It's the reason consoles started being compatible with headphones. But cringe in games doesn't really bother me, so regardless, I was ready. Then why are both the Wii U and Switch versions of this game sitting on my shelves unplayed? That's for my psychiatrist to figure out. But in the meantime, why shouldn't I give this one a spin? Not only does it have that SMT flavor, but it also features Fire Emblem characters. This isn't something I cared about when this game first came out, but I've since come to really enjoy Fire Emblem, so it's definitely an added bonus now. Fire Emblem heroes and Japanese pop music culture together at last. This is probably the weirdest game ever made, but I think I'll be into it. Monster Hunter Stories on the 3DS took me by surprise. I'd heard good things, of course, but normally I'm immune to FOMO when it comes to games involving monster collecting. Pokemon hasn't gotten its hooks into me yet either. But my wife grabbed it for me for Christmas last year, and I'll be honest, it's a lot of fun. The turn-based combat feels really good with you and your monster partner teaming up to take on other, less nice monsters. The world is super colorful and fun to explore, and there are some interesting characters in here too, even though your main character suffers from a bad case of silent protagonitis. I expect much of the same from Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin. It's got that same incredibly high level of Capcom polish to it, and the story looks to be more dramatic and intense than the previous game. If you're not familiar with the series at all, this is a Monster Hunter spin-off in which the goal isn't to hunt monsters, but to make friends with them. If by friendship you mean kidnapping monsters as babies and forcing them into a life of servitude and pitting them in violent combat against what might well be their own brothers and sisters. But if you just don't think about that, it's actually pretty sweet, and it's undoubtedly a lot of fun. I will definitely be giving this one a spin in the near future because I'm feeling in need of a more bright and colorful experience after some of the dark and heavy stuff I've been playing lately. I've often said that The World Ends With You is my favorite standalone Nintendo DS game. It's a stunning mix of eye-catching art, amazing music, and crazy gameplay that shouldn't work, but somehow does. Square Enix has tried to bring it to other platforms, most notably the Switch, in an attempt to save it from dual-screen obscurity, but it's just never gone over all that well. It was a game made for a specific platform, and it definitely flourished there. For years, I and a lot of people assumed a sequel just wasn't in the cards. And then we got hit with Neo: The World Ends With You, which I of course grabbed because holy cow, it's the sequel to The World Ends With You. Finally! Bring on more of that music, more of that crazy gameplay. And yet, I'm sure you've realized by now, unless you stumbled upon this video and accidentally clicked the tracker to this exact point, I have not played this game. That's despite the fact that I've heard great things about it. Ask me if you should play it, I'll say yes. But I'm a hypocrite because there it sits on my shelf. So, here's the plan. Rather than try and play through the Switch version of the original in preparation for the sequel, I'm just gonna watch the anime adaptation of Part 1. Who's with me? Let me know if you think that's a solid plan or not. Chained Echoes was the indie darling last year, though it came out with less fanfare than this year's Sea of Stars. Chained Echoes also has the somewhat unique distinction of being the work of essentially a sole developer, Matthias Linde. He had a bit of help, notably in the music composition department, but still, a game of this scale done by a single individual is remarkable. It really is a new era of gaming, isn't it? That people like Matthias Linde and Toby Fox can create huge and beloved games on their own. Now, as a collector, I knew I needed to have this game on my shelf. So naturally, I pre-ordered the physical version from the only place it was available, first press games in the UK. But as with most limited press companies, the wait is eternal. They're claiming Q3 2023 on this one, but we're fast approaching the end of that queue and I am still gameless. But either way, I should have grabbed this one digitally while I waited. That old school 2D art style and that mix of swords and giant mechs, this is what I'm all about. At this point, maybe I'll just wait and see if First Press is actually able to get these out before the end of the month, but if there's any kind of substantial delay, I'm gonna bite the bullet and grab an ephemeral copy for now. Shin Megami Tensei is a series that I love, but it's one that sometimes I feel doesn't love me back. What do I mean by that? Well, just that I feel like I come to it wide-eyed and ready for a good time, and it kicks my legs out from under me and presses its heel to my neck. And not always in a fun way. That's me roundabout saying these games can be hard, and I learned that from playing SMT3 Nocturne on the PlayStation 2. Still, I loved that game. Its mood was its story, basically. The atmosphere somehow transcended the audio and visual realms and became so much more. SMT4 and the 3DS did not work for me though. I'm not the biggest handheld gamer for one, and for another, I just found it too easy to get lost, which quickly sucks the fun out of an experience for me. I was hoping SMT5 would be the game to get me back on track with the series, and I think it might be able to do just that. If I give it a chance, anyway. This thing has been on my wish list for like 6 years, and even though I own the oversized and overpriced collector's edition, I still haven't popped that cart in the old Switch. As a fan of the stylized presentation, the monster negotiating, the press turn combat system, it's silly that I've put it off. Maybe part of me is worried it'll fall more in line with 4 than 3, that I'll end up disappointed. But still, if the worst case scenario is that it's like SMT4, a pretty widely beloved game, I think I'll still be okay. Maybe I've grown since then too, so it's possible I'll get into it. Or, you know, maybe I can just use a guide or something. Anyway, those are the 10 games on the Switch that I'm kicking myself for not playing yet. Which one of these do you think should go to the top of my to-play list? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, liking, subscribing. You make doing this YouTube thing a lot of fun. Anyway, until next time. Bye.